What is going on, all of you amazing gamers out there in the world? I am MegaAmpster. Thank you for being here. If you're new or returning viewer, thanks for being here. Hope you're having a great start to your 2024. I wanted to make this video because very recently, I have been looking into emulating my physical games. Now, I've been looking into doing this for like a while now. Honestly, kind of started early in 2023, like a year ago as of this recording. And I just, over time, I've thought about it, and like some of my friends have, like my friends who are gamers, some of them have emulated their games and looked into it. And I kind of wanted to talk about, so far, someone who is extremely new to the emulation scene, why I'm even doing this. Like, why am I doing this now? Why is this so important to me? And why, maybe I'll share some of that knowledge with you and impart some of that newcomer knowledge to any of you. So just a caveat here, I am very new to emulation. I'm still trying to figure out the ins and outs and setting everything up here. But I came across a very good resource that one of my friends said, aforementioned friends who does emulate their games, at least some of their games, gave to me, said, hey, take a look at this website. I'm not going to share it here. I'm not going to say the website. I'm not going to share it in the description of the video. I will post it in the Discord just because you know how this kind of stuff can be, right? Piracy versus emulation, all that jargon. I'm not going to link the resource. If you want to join the Discord, feel free to take that there, because I will try to post it there, but at least not with this video. But I came across a very good resource for emulating these games, and I kind of always wondered, like, why is my friend doing it? And like, I've watched videos about like certain YouTubers I follow who emulate their games. I'm like, okay, why is that the case? And so, over the last year, in like 2023 especially, I started hearing a lot about these and kind of forming my own opinion on the situation, right? Because at the end of the day, a lot of these big gaming corporations, they don't want you emulating their games. They especially, Nintendo, right? Nintendo's the big one that sees it as piracy, which technically by law kind of is. But it's one of those things where you have two options when it comes to older games especially. It comes to either, I guess three options. One, you already owned a game physically that you bought when you had that system and you can still play it. But let's rule out that option. Let's say your console stops working, your handheld stops working, the game cartridge or disc stops working, whatever it is. All right, what are your options? You could buy another copy of said game, which could potentially be really expensive. We're going to take a look at some expensive ones here in a bit. Or you can emulate, because when these corporations, like Nintendo's a great example for this. Let's talk about Nintendo, right? Nintendo's usually it depends on the game. It depends on the platform too. They're pretty good about like allowing you to play their NES games and most Super Nintendo games. N64 gets a little choppy. GameCube, non-existent. That's where I started my emulation. They, besides the occasional remaster that they've done very recently, right, and upcoming like Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, GameCube games in particular are really tough. Wii games can also be tricky too. And currently, there's really, unless it was ported to the Switch, there's no way to play Wii U games officially, to purchase officially from Nintendo. So this is what got me thinking, right? Because I'm like, well, listen, I have a lot of older consoles. I've got the Dreamcast, I've got the GameCube. Even the Wii U, right? And especially when I already own some of these games, I want to be able to play these games forever, right? I don't want to be reliant on the old hardware that could potentially, everything falls apart one day, everything's going to stop working at some point, and who knows when that is. That happened to my original Xbox, so now I can't play a lot of my original Xbox games anymore that only work on that Xbox, like my Xbox 360 is probably going to go out in a few years. How am I going to play Jet Set Radio Future? Because Xbox isn't giving me a way to play that through backwards compatibility, right? And obviously that is a big undertaking from these companies, and they don't want to spend the time and money to develop those for their new systems, and they'll have to do it like every time they release a new console. Like, right? Like, I get that. But as consumers, especially when there's no official way to repurchase a game, we shouldn't have to put up with that. Oh, I love this song. So personally, what I'm doing, like at the end of the day, my stance is that if there is no way to officially play a game from the original company who published it, then emulate away. That's my personal opinion. If there's a way to, then that's one thing. Like, for example, I do not support emulating Switch games because the Switch is the current platform, or like PS5 or Xbox. I do not support that flat out. That is piracy in my opinion, because if you have a way to buy those games and play them currently, then pay up. It's like we're consumers. Like we gotta pay for these things in a capitalistic society, right? It's like that's just the way it goes, right? The older systems, for me, is fair game, and I know that's a very contentious topic. I'd like to know your opinions in the comments below. But I just want to take a look at a few examples here. GameCube's a good one. Let's look at the classic Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes. Let's take a look at this on Google Shopping. Here we got $120 used on eBay, $115 on DK Oldies. I know there's some controversy with them. Refurbished, $120 retro video games. Listen, one day I was like, you know, I want to try Metal Gear Solid 1. I've heard really fun things about Twin Snakes. There is no official way to buy Twin Snakes currently. So either you spend $120 plus maybe shipping to get this game just to play it, or you emulate. And like, it's moments like this where personally, I'm only emulating games that I already physically own. I'm not even doing digital games yet. But you know, I totally could see how you could justify emulating instead of buying this, which I mean is honestly fair, because at the end of the day, this is buying from the secondhand market. This is going to, you know, DK Oldies or whoever's the seller is on eBay. Like, it's not going to Konami. It's not going to Nintendo. They're not getting any of your money, which is the crazy part why some of these companies are extremely against emulation. It's interesting how Phil Spencer in recent times has kind of come out and said like they would support emulation more if they could, but obviously there's legal issues and stuff like that. So that's an interesting take. I don't know if he's being truthful or just saying that to try to gain customer support. But it's an interesting comment nonetheless. But yeah, like this is absurd. Like if I just want to play this game, I ended up buying like the original like OG version on Good Old Games for Steam Deck for like $10 because I cannot justify this. All right. Oh no, there's something up with that. There's no way it's just $40. You kidding me? The average price is at least 100. Oh my god. Twin Snakes, great condition, holy grail. What? I don't know. The secondhand market for retro games is just getting worse and worse, and we all thought the bubble was gonna burst, and it hasn't yet. You know, this is applicable. Let's take a look at 1,000 Year Door on GameCube. It's still not looking great, although I don't know if the announced remake or remaster has brought the price down. I mean, it might have, but I mean, still $100 used on eBay. GameCube pre-owned, this looks like disc only, $90. Oh, that's from GameStop, what the hell? Even GameStop's getting in on this shit, bro, come on. $135 on Amazon, $250, okay, that's maybe a little extreme, but once again, average seems to be around $100. That's just the case, it looks like. Mercari, $110 used, and that's used. It's not even like better condition. Whereas some games you'll get for better, for cheaper prices. Like it really depends on the game. These are just some egregious examples, but still, I mean, these are games that people really want to play. Now this game's getting a remaster. But you shouldn't have to wait for Nintendo or any other company to remaster their games. Because first of all, it may never happen. Second of all, that's just not fair to you, right? When these games exist already, just on older hardware that the official company no longer supports, well then it's like, well, what if I want to experience your game? I could give some secondhand seller money for maybe even the console you need and the game, or you can just emulate. Now, I totally get that side of it. For me, it's all about preserving and backing up my physical games that I already own. So for example, some original Xbox games that I can't play on current hardware, I'm backing up. So currently I'm going through all my games that I can. Unfortunately, the resource that I have, which I said will not be linked here, I'll put it in the Discord if any of you are interested. Unfortunately, they don't have any Wii U or 3DS setups yet, but it is a nice resource that includes some of the emulators you can get. So I'm currently going through and finally setting that stuff up. I got a hard drive I got set up with, well, it has an SSD in it actually, so it's not like a hard drive, but got the different game folder set up in there for the different emulators. And maybe, I mean, right now I'm just putting them on my PC, but eventually if I can get them to work on like my Series X, I know like Dolphin, and not too long ago, Xenia, I did a video early 2023, right? Talking about that being on the Xbox Series X. And also Steam Deck I've heard is a pretty good emulation machine, so I'm probably gonna test it out there too. But yeah, like currently, like I've got a whole stack of currently going through all my Xbox 360 games that I am emulating here. So just kind of working through a bunch of these. Yes, a lot of Sonic games, of course. Because like, the companies, okay, so let's look at another example. All right, say what you will about this game, Sonic 06, right? How am I gonna play Sonic 06 when my Xbox 360 eventually dies? How am I gonna play it? How's anybody gonna play it? You know, Sega doesn't have a current way to play this game on modern platforms. And so as a result, we're officially waiting for remasters and remakes to come out. And it's like, bro, like that's not good. And also, if I want to play this game in the future and my Xbox 360 dies, I shouldn't have to buy a used Xbox 360 from somebody else to play it. You know, I bought this game when it was still officially supported by the company. I have given them my money. I should therefore be able to play it. That is just a consumer right, you know, and this ties into the whole all digital future. Whereas with those games, currently, I could totally, you know, if you want to emulate those two, like, go for it. Like, literally go for it. I'm not stopping you. I'm not judging you for that, because this is just my own personal rule that I'm currently following, and this might even change in the future. With digital games, right, you're really just buying a license to play said game. You don't actually own any of your digital games, right? It's almost, you kind of like pay for like a little ticket that says, hey, oh, you can play this game. Here you go. Cool. You don't own the game. So with those, I'm not currently emulating those. Like, that's the tricky thing with virtual console releases. Like, I have not emulated any of those. And the ones that are available on NSO, I'm definitely not going to emulate, because that's just where I'm drawing my personal line. That's the nice thing about the whole world of emulation, right? From what I've discovered, is that you can draw your line wherever. There are certain things, however, that it just shouldn't, like, listen. This kind of relates, this is part of the reason why I made this video right now, is because it relates to a very recent hot news topic at the very beginning of 2024 and a little bit at the end of 2023 as well. And that is the MIG Switch. Now, you've probably heard of this if you are tuned into Nintendo related news. Essentially what the MIG Switch is claiming to do here, I won't go over this too long, but essentially you can see in this image here, it looks like a Switch cartridge, except you can slot in a micro SD with your loaded Switch ROMs on there. And then you press it into the Switch, and like every time you want to, it's kind of a little clunky. Every time you want to switch a game, you push it in and out in the Switch cartridge slot. So it's a little clunky there. I do not support this. I'm sorry. Like, if my personal mantra is yes, if it is a game that is currently officially supported by the company who created said game, then there's no excuse. I mean, yeah, things cost money. Like, that's the unfortunate reality we live in the society that we do. But, like, if you're downloading Switch games, like, that's... I'm sorry, I think that's kind of scummy. But then again, you could argue it's scummy for companies to charge us money. Anyways, I don't know. With the older games is really what I want to talk. I just wanted to bring this up to kind of mention my stance on it. I'm not a fan of this. I'm not going to be buying this. If you do, that's on you, but that's literally piracy. Emulation can be too, though. Totally can be argued that that's piracy as well. You know, but in my opinion, this is my personal opinion, if you buy a game physically, especially when it was originally supported, you should be able to play that game forever, right? You should be able to watch your movies forever, right? And movies are actually pretty good because they give you, you know, options. I mean, they're still not great, but like, for example, when I buy a 4K, which apparently that's going to be going out soon, according to Best Buy and Walmart, I don't know. But like, you get the 4K disc, the Blu-ray disc, and you get a digital code. So you have at least options, whereas I know some games give you options with like the disc and the code, but I don't think many do. So I don't know. That would be a nice thing where it's like, oh, like if you buy the game physically, you know, all physical games also come with the digital code. But then again, physical games might be going away soon, so they won't care anyways. The nice thing about having games digitally is the convenience aspect, right? And the fact that, oh, I'm not reliant on, well, you still are reliant on the hardware, actually. You're not reliant on the physical media. If I get a scratch, I can't get a scratch on my digital game, right? It'll still work as long as the hardware supports it. But that's kind of the caveat, that's the tricky thing, which is why I'm kind of like on the fence about emulating digital games. Like, I may cross that line someday, maybe even in the near future. For now, I'm just drawing the line of physical games. But it really, to me, and this is it was kind of a New Year's resolution of mine as I was going through and like focusing on the games I already own, to then take a look through my collection and be like, wait, the hardware could just die out on me at any point. It's already happened with 2 previous Dreamcasts. It's happened with the previous OG Xbox. Like, who's to say the GameCube won't stop working tomorrow? It might not even work now. I haven't booted it up in a while. You know, it's just collecting dust. Stuff's gonna stop working eventually, right? We shouldn't be limited by those physical consoles and physical handhelds to play these games that we already bought. We gave the companies their money. You know, if we buy a physical copy now, some games, like Paper Mario right now, for example, like Twin Snakes, those aren't offered digitally on current storefronts, so you have to buy it physically. when you buy that physically, right now, you're not supporting Konami, you're not supporting Nintendo, you're not supporting any of these publishers or platform holders anymore by buying these older physical games. You know, Wii U and 3DS kinda, but they're also kind of phased out. The eShop's down, so you can't even buy those games digitally that were exclusive to Wii U and 3DS. That's why I'm still looking for an emulator for those. But pretty much my personal line is any physical games that I currently own that are of the previous generation or older that I can no longer play on current hardware, those are what I'm going through and emulating right now. Digital might happen someday too, I don't know. But I just wanted to make this little video to kind of talk about it, put my thoughts out there on the situation. I do not support current gen emulation, so this MIG Switch, I'm honestly against this. It's just like, I don't know. It's like, at the same time, I'm not gonna say, oh yay, corporations are your friends, because they're not. But in the current generation, you in the society that we're in, you gotta pay for this stuff. You know, if they're officially supporting it, that's just the way it goes. Otherwise, it's all piracy, but I blatantly see this as absolute piracy when you have an official means of buying and playing. That's my personal opinion, but if that's not yours, or if it is, you know, just let me know your thoughts in the comments below, because I know this is a very contentious topic. I just wanted to briefly bring up why I find it so important right now as of this recording, and you know, see where it goes. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below on emulation in general, and I guess the MIG Switch situation. Are you going to get one? What are your thoughts there? But with that, thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate all of your support going into the new year, and I will catch you all on the next video or live stream. And until then, take care.